While millions of people plan their entire Sunday around one game, counting down to kickoff as if it were a national ritual, there's a quieter group of adults who feel absolutely nothing when the Super Bowl comes around. No excitement, no irritation, not even resistance, just indifference. And if you're one of them, you've probably noticed how uncomfortable that indifference makes other people. Because in a culture built around shared hype, not caring can look suspicious. But psychologically, not caring about the Super Bowl isn't a gap. It's a different internal orientation. For many fans, the Super Bowl isn't really about football. It's about collective emotion. It's one of the few remaining moments where millions of people sync their attention, reactions, and conversations around the same event. Cheering, groaning, celebrating, and arguing together creates a temporary sense of belonging. Even people who don't follow the season closely still feel pulled into the emotional gravity of the event because the group itself supplies meaning. People who don't care about the Super Bowl tend to be wired differently when it comes to emotional engagement. Their sense of identity doesn't expand or shrink based on what happens to a team they've never met. They don't experience borrowed excitement as strongly. Instead, their emotional energy stays closer to home, attached to experiences they can directly participate in and influence. Their nervous system doesn't light up for spectacle, it responds to relevance. This often shows up as a strong preference for personal agency. Watching others compete, celebrate, or lose doesn't feel rewarding if there's no personal stake. For these individuals, meaning is created through doing, not observing. They feel more grounded when their attention is directed toward their own routines, relationships, or interests rather than collective drama unfolding on a screen. That doesn't make them antisocial. It makes them internally anchored. There's also a psychological resistance to emotional outsourcing. Some people are comfortable letting their mood rise and fall with external events. Others instinctively avoid that. They've learned, consciously or not, that tying emotions to uncontrollable outcomes is exhausting. So they opt out. Not because they're detached from life, but because they're selective about where they invest emotional energy. Social pressure plays a role too. The Super Bowl carries an unspoken expectation. You're supposed to care. And for people who value authenticity over conformity, that expectation can quietly push them further away. When enthusiasm is socially mandated, it stops feeling genuine. Indifference becomes a form of self-consistency, not rebellion. Over time, many people who don't care about the Super Bowl stop explaining themselves altogether. They've learned that saying, "I just don't care," often triggers confusion, defensiveness, or judgment. So they stay quiet, let others enjoy the game, and carry on with their day. That quiet neutrality is often mistaken for boredom or lack of passion, when in reality it reflects emotional self-regulation. Psychologically, this group tends to experience fulfillment in smaller, steadier ways. They don't need emotional spikes to feel alive. They're less interested in spectacle and more interested in coherence. Their satisfaction comes from alignment rather than stimulation. Not caring about the Super Bowl doesn't mean you dislike sports, people, or celebration. It simply means your brain doesn't equate shared hype with meaning. You don't need a crowd to validate your emotional world. And in a culture that often confuses loud participation with depth, that kind of quiet self-alignment can look unusual. But it isn't emptiness. It's restraint. And for many people, it's exactly what keeps life feeling balanced.